So a lot of you will remember this event that took place about a month ago. There was this worldwide outrage over this Israeli soldier who vandalized a Jesus statue in Lebanon, right? And there was the whole narrative that went viral that Israel is bad to Christians and Israelis hate Christians and Israel persecutes Christians. And the whole thing was very unfortunate. The soldier was disciplined, and he was given some jail time, and the statue was restored. And nevertheless, there was this worldwide outrage, and it fed this narrative, like I said, about Israel being bad to Christians. And what was so absurd about the whole thing is that, on the World Watch list by Open Doors International, a Christian organization that monitors persecution of Christians around the world, it marked in orange and red are the 50 worst places in the world to be Christians, to be a Christian, the places that are the most dangerous for Christians in the world. And you see the whole Middle East is red and orange. It's like the worst place in the world for Christians. But Israel is not on the list at all, because Israel's a great place for Christians. Christians flourish. It's the only place where Christians flourish. And what was also interesting is that 10 days after that statue was vandalized, there was a poll that was published. A new survey by Statistics Lebanon indicates that 68.26% of Christian Lebanese respondents support peace with Israel, while 27% said they oppose it. So there's overwhelming support for peace with Israel among Lebanese Christians. Oh, wait, I thought Israel was terrible to Christians. No, Israel is not terrible to Christians, and the Lebanese Christians know it better than anybody. And I was thinking about all of this when I saw a clip recently of Bridget Gabriel. Many of you have probably heard of her. She appears in media a lot. She's written a number of books about Islam. She grew up in Lebanon as a Christian and has spent the last couple of decades trying to warn the West about the dangers of Islam. And I recently came across this clip of her talking about her childhood in Lebanon. And she also, in the clip, talks about Israel. And I thought it was so interesting. It's a very powerful clip. It's a little longer than clips that I usually play, but it's powerful enough that I think you'll enjoy it and you'll find it valuable. So here, let's take a look. Here's Bridget Gabriel.
Israel in 1989, and I came to the United States. And I thought I left all the crazies behind. I thought I'm going to start a new life in America. It's going to be great. I'm going to live the American dream. I'm going to be a millionaire by the time I'm 30. Don't we all think that way when we come to America? Because supposedly when I was living in Lebanon, in America, everybody has a tree in their backyard that makes dollars. Rude awakening, right? So I come here, and I was minding my own business. I started a TV production and marketing and advertising agency. Had 2 children, was living the good life, working 6 months out of the year, and then playing with my kids for the other 6 months. Until 9/11/2001. We just yesterday celebrated the memory of 9/11. Did we learn anything from 9/11? It looks like we learned nothing from 9/11. 9/11 was a defining moment for the United States. 9/11 changed the way we travel, changed the way we bank. 9/11, we all did the exact same thing, no matter where you were in the world. When you heard about what happened in New York, if you were near a television set, you were glued to that TV set. We could not get enough news. We all felt sad. We all felt brokenhearted. We all felt devastated. We could not believe somebody could hate us so much that they would hijack airliners and fly them into skyscrapers as human missiles. We couldn't believe that somebody could hate us that much, but they did. My 9/11 happened to me in 1975 when radical Islamists, the combined forces of Palestinians and Muslims, blew up my home, bringing it down, burying me under the rubble, wounded. I ended up in a hospital for 2.5 months. And as I laid in a hospital bed, going from one surgery to another, I would ask my father, why did they do this to us? And my father would tell me, because we are Christians, they consider us infidels, and they want to kill us. So I learned since I was a 10-year-old little girl that I am wanted dead simply because I was born into the Christian faith and lived in a Christian town. I ended up leaving the hospital and coming back home, but my home was no longer the home I left. I ended up living in a bomb shelter underground in an 8 by 10 room without electricity, without water, and very little food. And that's where I lived for the next 7 years of my life, from the age of 10 till the age of 17, robbed of my youth. I remember when we first went into our bomb shelter, my father would say to me, he said, well, the whole world, the Christian world is going to wake up and see what's happening to the Christians in Lebanon. They're going to see how the Palestinians are massacring us. And America is going to come. Canada is going to come. Australia is going to come. France is going to come. Britain is going to come. And nobody came. The world forgot about us. And we continued on living. In order for me to get some food, I had to crawl under the bombs and dig out for dandelions and different vegetation that grew around our bomb shelter because it was the only greenery I had to eat. To get some water, we would crawl to a nearby spring under snipers' bullets because we were surrounded by Islamic snipers just to get a drink of water. And before I left our bomb shelter, my mother and I would say our last goodbyes because we did not know if we're going to come back alive or dead, just to get a drink of water. And this became my existence. I remember 2 years into the war, nobody cared about us. We realized this is our destiny. The only people that were defending us were the Christian militia, the young Christian men in our town. And I remember 2 years into the war, he stopped by, one of my friends, one of my Christian militia friends, and he said, Brigitte, I just want you to know that we heard a lot of chatter on the radio, and we believe we're going to be attacked tonight. Our town is going to be attacked. And he said, if they invade us tonight and we don't survive, I wish you, if I don't see you tomorrow, I wish you a merciful death. And he gave me a hug and he left. And I remember at the age of 13, dressing in my burial clothes because I wanted to look pretty when I am dead, knowing that when they come to slaughter me, there would be no one to bury me. And I remember dressing in my Sunday best, my Easter dress. It was blue with white daisies on it. As my mother combed my long black hair and tied a white ribbon in my hair, begging her, I don't want to die. I'm only 13 years old. Please do something. I don't want to die. And there was nothing my mother could say to me. And we sat in the corner of our bomb shelter. And my father opened up his Bible and started reading from Psalms. I shall walk into the valley of death and fear no evil, for thou art with me. And my parents said to me, we lived a long life. You are a young child. You're an only child. We will create a distraction when they come to slaughter us. We just want you to run towards Israel and don't look back. You're a young child. We lived a long life. Just run towards Israel as fast as you can. You see, we knew that when the Muslims come to kill us, because we were surrounded by them, if we run to the Jews and beg for help, the Jews are not going to slaughter us because we had more shared values with them. Thank God I did not have to make that difficult decision that night, because that's the night when Israel came in physically into Lebanon and established the security zone and set up artillery bases around our town. And this is how we continued on living. And Israel would come in the middle of the night for the next 5 years until 1982. Israel would come in the middle of the night and would bring ammunition for the military and would bring food for the people. And they even brought blankets and they even brought bomb shelters. And they would take the Christian men into Israel and train them how to fight. Because we learned very quickly that you can have all the professional degrees behind you on the wall. Your medical degree, your accounting degree, your legal degree. None of that will do you diddly squat, as they say in Texas, when you are faced with an enemy bent on killing you. And this is how we went on living for another 5 years until 1982, when Israel invaded Lebanon. And the only reason Israel invaded Lebanon at that time is because the combined forces of the Palestinians and the Islamists, and at that time Syria, was shelling Israel, shutting all the northern towns of Israel to the point where all the northern area had to be evacuated. And boy, you just look at October 7th, you look what happened in the last 2 years. Same old thing. History is repeating itself. So Israel, working with the Christians in Lebanon back in 1982, invaded the country, working together as one force to kick out the radical Islamic element that had taken control of the country at that time. By the time Israel invaded Lebanon in 1982, we had 11 Islamic terrorist organizations operating out of Lebanon, including the PLO. And Israel was able to kick Yasser Arafat and his cronies all the way out to Tunisia. And that's how we came out of the bomb shelter and back to rebuilding our lives. Yes. I ended up moving to Israel in 1984. Before I got to that, my mother was wounded in the war. We had to take her to treatment in Israel. If you have not read my book, Because They Hate, write it down. Because They Hate, you must read that book. I don't have time to go into all that story, but that my journey from Lebanon to Israel is it's gonna be a story you'll never forget. By 1984, I decided I'm going to move to Israel. I want to live in Israel because these are the values I want to adopt. This is the love that I want to experience, because I knew that Israelis had such compassion and such love for humanity. They were different than any other people. I ended up moving to Israel and living in Israel and working in Jerusalem out of Binyanei HaUmah, the nation's building, as a journalist reporting on world events, because I wanted to understand why people do evil things to good people, because I couldn't understand how they could be so rotten on the inside. I decided to become a journalist to understand that and fight for truth. I became news anchor for World News, working out of Jerusalem from 1984 till 1989. And
So the next time someone tells you that Israel is a bad place for Christians, just share this video with them or give them Bridget Gabriel's book, Because They Hate, where she tells her whole story. And, you know, this is relevant to the headlines right now, because with all this talk about Lebanon and will there be peace between Israel and Lebanon, Israel's not at war with Lebanon. Lebanon was a majority Christian country when it was founded back in the early 1940s. And then the PLO and other Islamic terrorist groups moved in. Hezbollah later moved in, an Iranian proxy, and they slaughtered Christians. They devastated the country. They destroyed what was actually a very cosmopolitan, fairly modern country. Beirut was called the Paris of the Middle East. And now it's just, you know, it's a war zone. And that's all because these jihadists moved in, and they moved in there because they wanted to have a front on the northern border with Israel to attack Israel. That's it. That's the story of Lebanon. That's the story of all these Christians who were persecuted there. And in fact, it's the same story that's been going on for the last 1,400 years, because this entire region, the entire region that I showed you on that Open Doors International map of Christians being persecuted, that was all Christian countries. That was all Christian lands. Those populations were almost universally Christian until Islam came along and invaded and slaughtered Christians and took over the Middle East. We think of the Middle East as a Muslim place. That's only because the Christians were slaughtered there. And Lebanon was one of the last places that still had a sizable Christian population. And today, Christians are only about 20 to 30% of the population in Lebanon, where they used to be the majority because they've been slaughtered and chased out of there. And if Israel's doing anything in moving into Lebanon to get rid of Hezbollah and get rid of all these other terrorist groups, it's not only to defend Israel, it's also going to liberate the Lebanese. And the Lebanese Christians understand that. Now, they don't all say openly that they want peace with Israel because they fear for their lives. And they know that if they openly say they want peace with Israel, they could get killed. But a poll is private. So there you see, in a poll, some upwards of 70% of Christians said in a poll, absolutely, they want to make peace with Israel. Now, of course, there's still that 28%, I think it was, that did not. What was the number there? Let's check out that number again. The number there was what percentage did not want peace with Israel. 27% said they did not want peace with Israel. Now, a lot of them, they've been through the education system there, or maybe they have other reasons. But 68% is a pretty overwhelming majority. And that shows you where the sentiment in Lebanon about Israel among Lebanese Christians really is. So don't believe the propaganda. This is the real story. And we should only pray that Israel should be successful in rooting out Hezbollah from Lebanon. It's also relevant to the headlines right now where they're talking about this peace deal with Iran, and that's supposed to include Israel stopping in Lebanon, stopping to destroy Hezbollah in Lebanon. Why does that benefit the good people of the world? Israel should be encouraged to eradicate Hezbollah completely so that Lebanon can again be a free nation where Christians can flourish and prosper, which is not the case now. Anyway, that's it for this one. God bless. Keep watching. Bye-bye.